Welcome to a Cincy Fan Talking with LP. And once again, it's your boy LP. Different vibe, different vibe. Cheers still feel good though. So what's up, y'all? What's up? What's going on? It's LP. Trying something a little bit different right here. Um, haven't really thought of a name yet. We still gonna stick with a Cincy fan talking with LP. I guess we a Cincy fan talking teacher movies, which is a little bit long, but that's basically what it is. For a stretch of time, I'm a Cincy fan talking teacher movies. Now, I've been doing this on my regular episodes. They've been getting kind of long, and I can tell because I get on like minute 54 and I'm like, man, where the water at? Like, and there's not another person normally go ahead and pick up the slack while I'm sipping on something. So it's just your boy going hard for like a full hour or so. And I'm like, that's a lot. So this make a little bit more sense. Plus I feel like I can get into a little bit of a deeper dive with what I'm talking about. So we gonna play it like this for a while and kind of see how it go. So, you got your boy a Cincy fan talking with LP talking teacher movies. We'll find a way to shorten that or whatever. So now it's been teacher movies for a while, and as I was going through my list of movies to review, I thought I pretty much seen them all. And then I'm looking at the list and I'm like, how have I never seen Stand and Deliver? Like, really? Like, I call myself a teacher and I haven't seen Stand and Deliver. So I'm like, you know what? I need to fix that immediately. And while I fix it, I might as well go ahead and review it too. So I went ahead and did that. And spoiler alert, this is probably one of the best teacher movies out there. I thought I had my list and I thought I had some of the slept on ones like 187, you know, stuff like Freedom Riders. I feel like this tops them all because this is one of those movies that it jumps over the teacher realm, and I feel like this plays as a sports movie as well. There's no sports in it, but when you really take a deep dive, you'll notice that a lot of sports programs, a lot of sports teams, they do stuff like what Jamie Escalante did. So we'll set the premise. And as soon as I saw it was in the 80s, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna like this movie already. So it's set in 1980s East LA, and the film follows Jamie Escalante, and that's played by Edward James Olmos, who is the absolute man. He plays a high school teacher, and he leaves his high paying gig to teach computer science. There is no computer science. There are no computers. So he's like, you know what? I'll just teach him math. And as he started teaching him math, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and teach them calculus because I feel like they could do it. Uh, Real ballsy for the squad that he had in his room. But he's like, you know what? Like, this is in our blood, and he did a really good job of like giving them pride in mathematics. He's like, this is in our blood. Like the Mayans developed the number zero. Like they developed that before anybody else could. So this is what we do. And stuff like that gives you pride in what you do. He talked about ganas a lot. Like in the movie, he talked about ganas. Like, you gotta have the ganas, which is a way of saying, like, you gotta have guts. You gotta have desire to win. You gotta have the will to win. That's kind of what drew me in at first. Because as a sports fan, as a coach, and as a teacher, you understand after a while that there are a lot of people with a lot of God given talent who screw it up. And you look like how? And really when you think about it, things are really easy for them. And they don't develop that ganas. They don't develop that will to win because it's easy for them. And when something pushes against them, they'll quickly kind of fade back like, it's a struggle. But those people that really have that desire, like they really want it, they can go a little bit further than people with the talent. Talent can be trumped by desire at times. When you get a really talented kid that really wants to win, that's the demon that you want. And the thing is, there were two key things for me. The one was, the desire to win. The other one was the low expectations. And as a teacher, this is the part that bothers me so much. And I don't think a lot of teachers understand this. And I tell new teachers this all the time. Kids don't do what you want. They don't do what you expect. They do what you tolerate. If you tolerate low expectations, that's what you'll get. If you consistently let kids know through your actions and your words that you don't expect them to rise above where they are, that's what they're going to give you. But if you push them and you go like, I expect you to be here. Like I expect that. I expect you to be on a high level. Kids are going to try to reach that level even when they feel like they can't. You can get them to at least try. And as a teacher, that's the battle right there. I've learned that if you can get a kid to try, you can develop that kid. It's really about the effort. And the thing is, in this movie, there were low expectations all around because the teacher had high expectations, but everybody around the kids had low expectations. As the movie went on, you had the teacher really pushing these kids. He had them coming to school an hour and a half before the bell rang to work on calculus. He had them coming to school on Saturday to work on calculus. They really bought in. It was amazing how they bought in. Now, some kids said, forget that. I'm not. It's a wrap. And that was I respected that part of the movie because you're not gonna have every single kid in the class say, "Yay, school, whoa!" It don't work like that. But the kids that stay, those are the ones that really want to be there, and you can really push them because, I mean, hell, they stayed. If they didn't want to be here, they wouldn't be here. So if they're here, you can push them. So there's this big AP test, and Mr. Escalante is pushing him like, you know what? You pass this test, you'll probably get into a good school. You get into college, you can do what you want to do. He had 18 kids. All 18 kids passed the AP test. The testing service didn't believe him. And they're like, you know what? You guys are going to have to retake this test again. And the kids are pissed. Nobody's more pissed than the teacher because he's like, if you think they cheated, then you're saying I cheated because you're saying that you're saying I'm okay with them cheating. There's this hilarious scene in the movie, and I was surprised at how hard I laughed at it. So the investigators, they grab all the kids and they let them know, like, we're not police, we just want to know what went on. Did you guys cheat? So the testing investigators, they have the kids in there, and they're like, I didn't cheat, I didn't cheat. And they're starting to kind of like not believe themselves. And they're like, maybe one of us did cheat, and they're like, which one cheated? And they're like, I don't know. I just know I didn't. So this one guy, he's kind of like one of the main characters of the movie. And it was Lou Diamond Phillips. He plays this character. Awesome, awesome acting by Lou Diamond Phillips. Young guy, young Lou. He stands up and he's like, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna go let you guys know I cheated. And they're like, okay, how did you do it? He's like, here's what I did, man. I woke up and I got my old man and I chopped him up into little pieces and he's in the backyard right now. And the kids just die with laughter. They're just losing it. I'm looking like he really said that. He sits back down like, yeah, man. So that's what happened. You guys gonna arrest me or what? I'm like, wow, because they really thought they had like the guy that cheated. Like they were really hyped up. Like, yeah, ha 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 ha. Nah, it didn't work that way. So they end up retaking the test. All 18 kids pass again. Now it's important to remember that number because that number goes up. It goes up the more and more he teaches. And the cultural identity, that piece was really big. It kind of surrounded the whole movie, and it did what a lot of 80s movies and 90s movies and 2000s movies didn't do. They captured the Chicano experience in LA, but it wasn't like a caricature. It wasn't like they were just like laughing at the experience. It was really authentic the way that they played it. Like it really grounded you in like how they lived and how they were like, you know what, I'm gonna better my standing through school. And that wasn't really thought of. That was more like you had to go to school because why not? You're gonna go to school until a certain age and then you're gonna do whatever you want to do. They were like, I'm gonna better myself this way. And it really captured that experience without making it feel like we're laughing at them or kind of like using the experience to kind of talk about them or just have assumptions about the kind of experience. It was really good to see that because there aren't a lot of teacher movies that ground you in an experience that you don't know. So it was really cool to see. The cheating scandal was huge for me because it's that systemic bias that surrounds black and brown children of color like it really does. You know, it's like we're expected to not be great. We're expected to be medium to like low, medium to low, and for them to have great grades and do well on their tests and to just be told, no, you guys cheated. It was one of those things that like I didn't see it coming, but I wasn't surprised that I saw it, if that makes sense. Like systemic bias in education really needs to be talked about a lot more than it is because it's definitely still there. I mean, schools are more segregated now than they were in the 1960s. Like, really think about that. Like, really think about that. Like, it's a crazy point to think about. I mean, it feels like we work so hard to make things equal, and they're still not. So it's humbling to think about, especially as a teacher, because I've only worked in low income districts, and I see that every day. And I hear how people talk about the kids in my classes, and I'm like, you guys just don't know how brilliant these kids really are. You know, just take a look. Escalante's methods were awesome. He used humor, he used props, he used aggressive nicknames, and he kept the kids engaged. He was kind of like a really good coach with an awesome playbook. And he tested this playbook out so many times and he understood how good it was. I mean, basically, coaches and teachers, they're pretty much the same thing. And the great part, and this is where I say it kind of takes a sports turn. He didn't just do this one time. It wasn't just like this was a flash in the pan. 18 kids took the test and 18 kids passed. Yay. The next year, he almost doubled that number. He did double that number. It was like 37. And the next year after that, it was like 46. And then the next year after that, it was like 64. So it was like he had a lower tier program and he made that program great. And he did it in ways that you could call them, what's the word? Unconventional. Yeah, let's call them unconventional. But when you're in a situation where you have an unconventional task, you can't use conventional means to do it. If you have an 0 and 14 baseball team or basketball team, you're not going to be able to turn them around by doing the regular thing. You got to practice a little bit differently. You got to recruit a different type of kid. You got to work a little harder. And Escalante really figured that out. Um, let's give you a couple of trivia things here. Edward James Olmos thinned his hair and gained weight to play Jamie Escalante. He actually lived with the real Jamie, or is that Jaime? It could be. To nail the mannerisms. That's crazy. It reminds me of Hustle and Flow, how Terrence Howard lived with pimps and things like that in Memphis for months and months to kind of get the lingo, which is probably why he said Maine so much. But like Edward James Olmos, he really dedicated himself to the role, and I feel like that's why he did so great playing that part. This movie is probably responsible for the inspiring teacher genre we see in Freedom Writers or Dangerous Minds. But this one is different. In that one, it feels like you kind of have like that, that white hero, the white knight, just coming in and teaching the quote unquote poor kids how to read and stuff like that, and to take to take responsibility for their own actions, things like that. In this is great because it's one of their own coming in and understanding exactly how things play. Me personally, I feel like that's one of my biggest advantages as a teacher. When kids are using slang and stuff like that, I know exactly what they're saying because it's really just 90s stuff kind of souped up. So they'll say stuff and I know exactly what they mean. They're like, Mr. P, how you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, dude, like I lived 3 blocks away from here growing up. Are you serious right now? Like, so that kind of gives you that credibility, and it has kids kind of leaning in and paying attention a little bit more because they're like, dude, he lived where I live, and he's pretty successful. So I could do that too. And I feel like that really gives me a lot of credibility. And it helps with classroom management a lot. And I feel like that helped this character in this movie because they're looking like, this guy sounds like me. He looks like me. And he's super duper smart. So if he can do that, why can't I? It's a really good message to have. I would basically compare Escalante's leadership style to, and I'm gonna throw it back. I'm gonna throw it back on y'all. Bob Huggins. Real talk. I really would compare him to Bob Huggins because Bob Huggins was a no nonsense guy. He really was, especially in his heyday here in Cincinnati. He was a no nonsense guy. He didn't take any crap. But you talk to the players about Huggins, and they'll say he'll run through a wall for his players. Like he'll protect his players. He'll stand up for them. All he asks is that you work just as hard on the court and off the court. Now, sketchy stuff happened off the court. We're talking about college folks. But those styles, they really work with kids because, and honestly, I'm living proof. These kids will run through a wall for you if you show them that you care. I've had so many kids like do things so out of their character to help our class succeed because they're like, you know what, Mr. P, he showed me that he cares. He doesn't just care that I get an A. Like he wants me to be a better person. And I feel like that's what we saw here. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's talk movie versus reality. All right. So, in that 1982 scandal, they had a group of students accused of cheating. In reality, 18 students took the AP Calculus exam that year and they passed. They flagged 14 of the 18 for having similar errors on one problem. So basically, 14 kids missed the problem the same way. Now, they didn't really cover this too much in the movie. They made it seem like everybody kind of sort of messed up in the same way. But if I'm grading the test and I got 14 kids that missed the same problem the same way, come on, I'm gonna think something's up. I cannot really fault them for that. Now there's bias everywhere, and I'll tell you quickly. People of color get treated a little bit weirdly, but I can't really hate on something like that. If I would have saw that on the test that I gave, I probably would have had some questions too. So there was a retest under heavy watch and heavy scrutiny. 12 of the 14 people opted to retake a different version of the test, and all 12 of those kids passed again. In the movie, they played it like everybody took it, but that didn't really happen. Like all 12, it was 12 of the 14 they passed again, but they all passed. The other two was like, I'm not taking this again. I passed it. Forget you. The movie implies that this transformation happened in 1 year. In real life, it took Escalante about 10 years to build this program. He didn't even start teaching calculus until his fourth or fifth year at the school. Now the movie makes it seem like, you know what? 3 months later, you guys are smart. Let's get it done. This is what America needs to understand about math scores and why math scores are so low. There's a building pattern that needs to happen. It's like when you're playing football. You don't immediately just have kids tackling. They're doing a lot of different drills to ensure safety and whatnot. And once they get those drills done, which may take a while, then they're doing more drills. And then you're starting to tackle again and stuff like that. But in America, we don't really lay that foundation down the way we used to back in the day. I remember back in the day, it was a whole lot of rote memorization, and it was like, look, you're going to keep remembering this until you get it right. We're not moving on until you get it right. And it's not like that now. Now it's like, okay, we got a state test, so do this. I don't know how to do it. Okay, let's do something else. I don't know how to do it. Okay, let's do something else. And it's a lot of teachers like, we've covered this material. But that mean they know how to do it. You just covered it. You talked about it. That's why scores are so low in math in America. We don't lay that foundation down like you should. I mean, that's just kind of my take on it. So there's that. Now, this school was successful. In 1987, at its height, Garfield High had 85 students pass the AP Calculus exam. It was one of the top performing public schools in the nation for AP Math. That's awesome. And the best part about this, Escalante, like the real Escalante, he described the film as 90% truth. Now, he said 10% of it is fiction. Now, in the movie, he had a heart attack. Nah. In real life, he had an inflammation of the gallbladder. It's not as sexy as a heart attack. So they're like, nah, we're not going to do it that way. Also, like I said before, the film showed him taking students from basic fractions to calculus in 1 year. No, sir. I can tell you that. That's not happening. Now, in real life, they had to have a pipeline where they had students prepared over like a whole lot of years. And then they had them taking calculus and stuff after they proved they could do the basic stuff, which makes a whole lot of sense. Now, when you think about it, the Hollywood version is awesome. But for me being a teacher, that grind from taking the school that was down in the dumps and getting them like to where they needed to be and above in 10 years, that's better than the Hollywood story for real because that means he stuck around and he didn't go like, you know what, they're doing okay, I'm about to go. He stayed there and guided that school to success. Kind of like a coach would do. Like I'm telling you, it's really like a coaching movie. That's what it feels like to me. Now we're gonna get into the hot take, and this is yeah. I feel like some of y'all know what I'm about to say, but I gotta say it because I just kind of keep coming to this. You don't want an Escalante like you say you do. Let me repeat that, so the congregation can feel me. You don't want a teacher to really do what he did. I'm just being real. Like America really doesn't want a type of teacher like this because teachers and coaches that do this stuff, they don't, it doesn't really happen now. Think about all the stuff that Escalante did to get these kids to succeed. He said, you know what? We're going to have to slow things down. We're going to take you from basic fractions to fractions and move you all the way up. And it's going to take a while, and you got to stick with the process. He had them coming to school on Saturday. He had them coming to school an hour and a half before first bell. I cannot tell you how much blowback I would get from parents. Most parents. Some parents would be like, I've been waiting for this. I've been wanting to push my kid. I've been waiting for this. But for the most part, you would have a whole lot of people going like, how could you do this? That's ridiculous. We trying to get to a certain level. And in order for us to get to this level, this is what we got to do. Check this out. At my old school, I was the AD. I hired a coach. Like a friend told me about this coach. I had him coach my middle school team. This coach is now like doing great things in Cincinnati. Like he just led his high school team to the Sweet 16 here in Ohio. Did an awesome job this year. I knew he would kill it. Like I gave him a phone call as soon as I heard he got the job. I'm like, man, you about to kill it. So his first day meeting my team and I'm the AD over. I let him just talk to the kids. He's like, I want to get him in your room. I want to talk to him, like, before the first practice. He introduced himself, and he's like, you know what? Let me hear your name. Let me hear one school goal and one sports goal. So the kids, they basically had like different school goals. I want to make sure I get all A's and B's. I want to pass this class because this class is hard. But most of their sports goals was the same. I want to get into college playing basketball. I want to go to the NBA. That was almost everybody's thing. And normally you hear that stuff and you kind of say, yeah, yeah, you can do it. Coach say, raise your hand if you want to go pro. Almost everybody raised their hand. We had a couple kids say, I just want to get better. I just want to learn how to play. You gotta respect that in middle school, y'all. But a lot of the kids are like, I want to go pro. So he leaned back in his chair and he go like, what are you doing to go pro right now? And the kids are kind of looking like, I'm on a basketball team. I want to play basketball. And he's like, here's what I mean. Right now, you got the kids your age. He's like, and I'm not joking. Right now, you got kids your age that before they walk to school, they shoot 100 jump shots. Then they get to school and they dribble their ball all the way to school. They don't get on the bus. They walk to school and they practice their dribbling on the way to school. They get to school. They go through school. And then they dribble their ball all the way home. And then they shoot 100 jump shots. And they got to make 100 before they go in the house. And they do this every day. You got to understand that there are kids your age. They're not just saying they want to get better. They're putting in the work to get better. So if you really want this, what are you doing right now to get better? And he was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what you can do to get better every day. And I just kind of looked at him. I started patting myself on the back of my head like, man, I picked a damn good coach. Man, look at me. These are the coaches and these are the teachers that push you to believe in yourself. And sometimes they may sound a little mean, but it's because they're passionate. Sometimes they may do things that make you go like, "What?" They may ask you to come in early. They may ask you to stay late. They may push you hard. I just don't think that America is ready for that. Not like they used to be. Because there was a time where, and I was talking about this on my last pod, there was a time where you could talk a certain way to kids, not mean, but you could push them a little harder. And you had that You had that support from the parents where you could push them a little bit harder. You could do that. And nowadays it's not like that. Nowadays it's more like, well, I believe my baby. My baby said that you giving too much homework. But I want your kid to be smarter. I want your kid to practice after school. I want them to be able to implement the stuff we're doing in class on their own. And if they mess up, that's okay. I'm okay with that. But if you practice, you're gonna mess up. But you gotta practice. You gotta practice to get better. That's how it goes. I just don't feel like people want these teachers that we celebrate on these shows and in these movies. Like, I don't think you want an Escalante. Not like you say you do. Because if you did, there would be more support for the teachers that do this. I feel like that's my hot take. And I feel like this is the second or third time I shared it, but every time I share it, people kind of look at me and go like, "What you mean we want the best teachers?" Do you know? Like, do you really? I'll let y'all sit on that because there needs to be, and I'm not saying people don't support teachers. I'm saying we got to get past that base support where like, uh, I'm so happy you do what you do because I couldn't do it. I hear that so much. I want to hear somebody say, "Hey, Mr. P, whatever you need, let me know." Because I know you're there to help my kid get better. Whatever you need, if you're giving out homework, just let me know when you give it out so I can make sure you do it. Stuff like that. That's what we need as teachers more than anything. Like I don't need an extra Chick-fil-A sandwich. Like I don't really need that for Teacher Appreciation Week. I just need you to support us like you say you do. And I feel like if we did, we have more Escalantes willing to. And I'm not even saying do wild stuff like that. I'm saying if you have a strategy and you want to implement it, let's get less pushback from the community. Let's let those teachers implement those standards and see how it goes. See how it do. This is one of the best teacher movies I've ever seen. The way that they show the community and show like the ups and downs and show what the kids are going through in order to get to those seats in order to learn, it was amazing to see the way they like showed the whole community. They showed the good, they showed the bad, and they didn't show it in a way where it would demean the community. Like I would be proud if they showed my community in that light, and they showed how the parents are like, you know what? Okay, I didn't understand what you were doing at first, but now I understand. I see what you're saying, so I'm gonna do exactly what you want. So if you haven't seen this movie, watch this movie. I'm gonna watch it again over the weekend. Like I'm gonna check it out again. My scale is like 10 out of 10. I'm gonna call this an 11.5 out of 10. I saw no flaws to this movie. Like the only real flaw I saw is how they sped the timeline up and made it seem like all that happened in 1 year. A little unrealistic, but it's Hollywood, so I get that. You can't really just show all of that. You can't show like a 10-year movie in an hour and a half, so I get that. Hey, y'all make sure y'all check that out. This is cool. I felt a whole lot less rushed dropping these episodes like this, so we might do it like this again. We definitely will do this like this again. If you have a teacher movie you want me to check out, um, shoot it to me on Blue Sky. Shoot it to me on Twitter. We're never calling it X. Forget that. Um, drop me a line on Spotify. Uh, drop me a line. Drop me a line anywhere you can find me. Yeah, y'all know the social. Y'all know all that. We're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. As always, I like the little Jazzy B too. Good job, producer. Hey, life is good, y'all. Support your teachers. Peace out.